Welcome back to the VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. VET S.O.S is brought to you by the Who You Know Network and proud members of the Parade Deck community. Today, we're sitting down with Lacy Gunnoe, Wellbeing Director for Veteran Programs for Camp Southern Ground. I've heard such great things about this program, this organization. I really can't wait to jump in this conversation and share the amazing things they got going on. Searching the world for the meaning of life with my compadre, Keith. How you doing today?
Searching the world. Well, I feel like we searched the world, and so far all we found is an empty coffee cup, a crumpled snack wrapper, and maybe the mysterious sock from the dryer. But yeah, no, but it's great to be searching the world with you, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Another wonderful day. Keeping it going. So let's jump right into this. We got Lacy Gunnoe joined the Camp Southern Ground team in the spring of 2023 as a Wellbeing Director for Veteran Programs. Retired U.S. Air Force officer, Lacy brings over 22 years of distinguished service. Throughout his career, Lacy has held diverse leadership roles, including assistant professor, operations officer, and recruiting officer for Samford University's ROTC program. He also served as the 106th Chief of the Operation Group Standardization and Evaluations Assistant Director of Operations, Evaluator Instructor Pilot, and Command Pilot, flying over 4,200 flight hours in the T-37, T-1, KC-135R, and T-6 aircrafts. His deployments include combat missions in Operation Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, Inherent Resolve, and Freedom Sentinel. Lacy's connection to Camp Southern Ground began in 2018 when he served as cadre for the inaugural Warrior Week program. He later returned as a guest speaker and has remained deeply committed to the organization's mission ever since. Now he's honored to serve full-time alongside his wife, Kaylee, and their son, Rowan. Fantastic bio there. You've done quite a bit in your life so far, Lacy. Can't wait to jump into the story about Camp Southern Ground. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, Sean. Thanks for having me on. And Keith, it's good to meet you. And I appreciate what you guys do, getting these tools out there in the oversaturated world of transition. So thank you guys for what you do and having me on today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be able to sit down with you and learn more about this organization. And this is one of those organizations that I think there's a handful that we hear a lot of our guests talk about. And this is one of those that has come up numerous times. So really excited to sit down and get into this. But before we do, let's start with your transition story. Tell us how your transition went out of the military.
So you would think, knowing where I was going to go to Camp Southern Ground to help with a transition program, that I would know all the curveballs that were coming. And that's not the case. And transition is an ecosystem. I've learned that very quickly. So if you have a 6-month-old and a wife that is giving up her job to move to a new place in Georgia, there's a lot of things that happen. It's not just career and job and employment. It's family. It's taking care of yourself. It's so much more. And I'm so glad we covered that at our Warrior Week program. But for me personally, much like you guys are around 22 years of service, active duty guard. I did a few transitions within my last like 5 to 10 years. Like you mentioned at Samford University, I taught ROTC, so I went back on active duty after getting out the year before. And then after serving time as an assistant professor for 4 years, done an amazing job, teaching Air Force ROTC was an amazing opportunity. I transitioned out, went back to the Guard, and I was Inspector General for a joint base for my last 3 years. And as you know, if you are in a certain seat, in a certain position, it is hard to let go. You don't have time for yourself. And so I am urging all of my friends and colleagues out there that are still serving, like 2 years before you get out, start charting this this map of how you're going to transition, because the last 6 months of the year goes so fast. And that was the case for me. So running a nuclear operational readiness inspection as a team chief, there's a lot going on in a lot of parts. We had a great team and we did very well. But at the end of the day, it's really hard to focus on yourself. Veterans are very good, myself included, at serving others and helping others, but not taking the time to help ourselves out, to make it smooth for ourselves. And that, in turn, made it really hard on my family. We moved 5 times in the last 3 years as I transitioned, 5 times in the last critical 3 years of getting out. And so it was very hard. It was very, very hard. And I don't care who you are, how high speed, what rank, or what you do, it's going to be difficult. And it's how we choose that difficult and make it worth it in that transition that matters most. I've learned that lesson up front. My family and I are better for it on the other side, but would want to go through that again, especially with a young toddler. But I will say this too, like it's something that I'm learning I built off of. Flying was an amazing opportunity. all those additional duty jobs, I learned so much for to prepare me for what I chose next. And it's great to not chase money or title and to chase purpose, something that's so fulfilling, rewarding on the inside. And I'm glad I got that right. And I don't think I would have gotten that right without my experience at Camp Southern Ground within the Warrior Week program and then coming back. And now 8 times a year, I'm learning from 20 people at a time, affirming or helping me grow. And so it's a great place to land. But in short, it was tough, even though, you think you really don't. And that's why tools like you guys provide and what we do at Camp Southern Ground are so important.
That's I just think back to traveling with a toddler and how painful that was. I can see how transitioning and that whole impact there would just be absolutely crazy. So,
Yeah.
um, man, all right. So let's jump into Camp Southern Ground. Tell us, what is this? What tell us what you can about the organization, the program, what it is, and then we'll jump into the specific programs.
Yeah, this is the most important part. Camp Southern Ground was founded by Zac Brown from the Zac Brown Band. So way before he was famous, back before Chicken Fried, even though we know the patriotic theme of Chicken Fried, especially at the last few verses, Zach grew up wanting to create a place, a camp, because he was a camp kid, where he could serve kids from an inclusion model, which he's done here at Camp Southern Ground. So we just wrapped up 8 weeks of serving kids 7 to 17 years of age. Very proud that out of all the kids we serve, about 30 to 40% of them are military connected families from our veteran programs that heard about the camp. So, I mean, we love how that is starting to get fibered into what we do here as a whole at Team Camp Southern Ground. So we have this amazing summer camp with these elite facilities. And if you go online and just check out Zac Brown's Camp Southern Ground, you're going to see these amazing facilities. We have the opportunity in the fall and spring to run our veteran programs. And so we have 3 different programs to choose from. We are a host site for Warrior Path. And you've probably heard a lot about Warrior Path and how it's changing lives and saving lives. And it's all about post-traumatic growth. We have an amazing path team here that runs that. We went from 11 last year. I think we're running 16 currently programs a year, 8 to 9 folks coming through each time currently, which is an amazing opportunity for us to help support the veteran community. The second program that we run 5 of these a year is a Warrior Family Camp. This is where you come in on a Friday and you leave on a Sunday and get to reconnect with your family. So kids do summer camp things, free babysitters, don't have to do dishes. You get to experience a little bit of our nutritional planning and some of the physical well-being. We got an 11-acre organic garden that's just behind me. It would be a much better background than what I have right now, by the way. And we harvest a lot from that to make sure that we're nutrient dense, anti-inflammatory, nut-free, gluten-free, all those things that you want to experience the goodness of Southern Ground while you're here. Zac Brown's former chef, Collins, he actually runs the executive culinary team, and we kind of drafted him over, and he stayed here, and his heart has pulled him here. So you get to eat meals that way, and Warrior Family Camp is an amazing time to reconnect with your family. And the last program that I really want to, expand and unpack today is the Warrior Week program, which is all about transitioning well out of the military for service members and for veterans that recently transitioned and they're just not fulfilled. And our model is powered by Gallup, and everybody knows about, Gallup poll, Gallup data, and we run their CliftonStrengths to help people understand what they're naturally gifted at. So no matter what uniform you wore, what mission set you had, even if you take your flight suit off, in my case, and you're no longer Maverick, like what's going to fulfill you? And we really hit home on Gallup's Wellbeing Index, which is all areas of well-being, because we know employment's important, getting your VA point, benefits, that's important. But when you ask the veteran, what's most important, they're going to say their family, their kids. And in transition, we don't think about those things. So we want to teach the social well-being, the importance of relationships. So I can ask questions like how important is it to have the opportunity to take your kids to school every morning? Is it worth $8,000, 10,000, 20? And those probing questions allow us to transition with the proper perspective to have a view on what we consider successful based off our values going forward. So I love that we're focusing on strengths, well-being, and values, and then we help them chart a way forward. And when we do that, we have a business leadership panel. They're talking to people from different industries and veterans that are entrepreneurs coming in and sharing their story to leave these breadcrumbs of success so we don't waste time. We got meaning and values and what we're good at, and now we're able to project that forward. Amazing opportunity. And there's so much more that we can talk about later, but those are our 3 programs. Something to note just for everyone listening, Warrior Path, Warrior Week, they're no cost to the veteran. So wherever you are, we're gonna buy that flight for you. We're gonna reimburse mileage if needed. However, we need to get you here. We want to eliminate barriers to allowing you to show up at your best, both professionally, of course, but even more importantly, that we're realizing, like, personally, like, showing up as the partner that you want to be, the dad, the mom that you want to be, and to basically transition into a citizen and not just another civilian. Because I think we're built for more. When we build on our service, we do more. So Warrior Week, Warrior Path, they are no cost programs. And Warrior Family Camp, I don't want to confuse folks. There's a deposit, but you get it back. And it's really just to lock in the food for 14 families. That's a lot of people. And you just got to get your family here, right? But for the veteran with the DD 214 Warrior Week, we're going to take care of you and get you here to help you with your transition. And if you failed at transition for a while, like a lot of us do, I was talking to a friend at Three Rangers the other day, and when he starts to coach people, he says, "How were your first 3 jobs when you got out last year?" And a lot of people leave those jobs trying to find what we're trying to give them upstream of transition. So those are our 3 programs that we run fall and spring. We're very proud of them.
That's fantastic. And personally, I've been a huge fan of Zac Brown from the beginning when he came out on the scene. And like I lived outside Atlanta along Interstate 20, and I know that not completely all related to the song, but that Highway 20 Drive song that he had on that touched me in more ways than I can probably publicly say, because at the time I was doing the Geo Bachelor thing and coming home on weekends and continuously getting on Interstate 20 and leaving my family and all that stuff. So it was, just stuff like that. And that's why I've always loved music, because you get those personal touches. And, even though it may not have been the intent that he wrote the song with, it had a meaning for me and my family. And, that's just huge that way.
I
Um,
appreciate you sharing that, Sean.
but
Just to kind of connect there, I grew up in a divorced household. Chose to stay with my dad. Trailer down by the river. My dad was making $8,000 a year at the time, and we would do an exchange with my younger sister because she went with my mom, and it was our own version of a Highway 20 ride, and it was, a part of my life. I'm glad we've learned and moved on from. But that song hits. My old man, right? Like, hearing those songs, he has such a way with words to reach and resonate with so many people. And I love that he's created a camp to do that with his heart as well. So it's not just him lyrics, he's just existing as an example, creating more than music for people to resonate with meaning and purpose and making a difference in the world.
absolutely, Keith, I'm a huge fan of the man, but now I respect the hell out of him too for what he's doing for our community, man.
Right? Yeah. And, I always try to come into these things with a few just ideas of preloaded questions to ask. And Lacy did such an amazing job of presenting a lot of information in a very succinct amount of time. He's kind of
Show's
blowing
over.
all my questions out of the water. I don't even quite know where to go. So, first of all, I mean, it sounds like group therapy meets an American Ninja Warrior. Is that is that a fair
Uh,
assessment?
I love that you're kind of smashing those two things together. I know Zach's a big UFC fan too, so I'm sure he would appreciate that. Yeah, I think one of the things, Keith, that pops up when you're saying that is, yeah, I mean, everything here is not necessarily therapy. It's non-clinical, peer-based training. And one of the things we want to do with Warrior Week is we want to foot stomp and emphasize this is not a retreat. This is an absolute attack on your purpose to make sure you're living out your life to the best of your ability, making the biggest impact on those you love the right way. So when it's your time to go, you have a full heart because you did it right. And in transition, whether you have a 6-month-old screaming and sick all the time, a wife that gave up her job, and you're in a state of waist sitting alert on active duty orders so you can get across that 20-year finish line active duty time like I was, it's life is so difficult, the world's so difficult. You have to make it worth it, or you're not going to be a positive person. You're not going to have that joy. Happiness is fleeting, but you're not going to have that joy. But when you're in your purpose, making a difference, that's whenever you're going to be at your best. That's what we want, is that meaningful path forward to jump into that and make every day worth it. So it's not a retreat, it's an absolute attack. So that's some of that Ninja Warrior stuff. Second piece I would offer is, you may have seen the confidence course on campus. It's 3 tiers long. It's got a zip line. We got a mega zip. And every veteran, especially, some of the especially the tough guys and gals, they like, hey, when are we going to get a go on that thing? And when I've realized, I wanted to, when I first came here 2 years ago, like, yeah, let's get that thing going. I think they would love it. I'm realizing, of course you would love that. Of course, you like to go down memory lane. Most of our operators and some of these really tough folks that did amazing jobs and very significant things, they would love to go into another firefight. It would actually be a safe place for them, safer than looking in the mirror and saying, so what now? What who am I now? Not what my parents taught me, not what the military gave me. What do I choose now moving forward with the time I have remaining? Looking in that accountability mirror, that's harder than any confidence course that I can offer here. And that's what we're currently offering in a classroom. But it's not death by PowerPoint. We're going to do, 50 minutes in the classroom, then we're going to go out for 2 hours and we're going to do all these experiential training in the field. We got 411 acres here to do it on. And we're going to do all these activations that make you think. And the great thing about having facilitators and facilitation is I'm not an instructor, I'm a facilitator. I pull it out of you. I'm asking Sean, I'm asking Keith, and all of a sudden you guys make something magical that only 20 individuals can create that I can't on my own. And that's where that connection community kicks in. Not like you're all in a deployment together. No, like how do we move forward in different areas and engage our communities as individuals, as a collective? It's a beautiful thing. So that's the two piece, I think it's an attack on your purpose, and I think while we have a challenge course, it's not American Ninja Warrior. It's everyone becoming a samurai. Maybe I don't know if that works or not.
Yeah, that's great. And I just love the perspective that, yeah, I mean, for most veterans, the group therapy and the yoga classes are probably more terrifying than the confidence course. Um, yeah, so you mentioned a few times, even in your own personal journey, about family, right? What your family went through during your transition, and Camp Southern Ground incorporates family and kids camps and everything else. So, what piece of transition journey do families, in your opinion, do families and spouses kind of struggle with the most? And what's something you want all of them to know that haven't gone through that transition yet? What's the one thing you would tell all of them going into it?
It's something that I know, but I'm still learning, and I see it more and more with all those that I interact with. And it's that transition is an ecosystem, which means that it's not just you transitioning, your kids are transitioning, your partner's transitioning. There's so many parts to this that everything is interconnected. So that's why I love the Wellbeing Index that we use, the model, because the most important thing that Gallup says is career and purpose, because we identify with our jobs, right? And all of us veterans, we know that more than anyone, right? It's hard to get people out of the uniform because of our identity. And they're going to be wearing a grunt style. Like even now, I got my light backpack that I still wear. But Gallup says that people will mourn the loss of their jobs longer than that of a family member, to include their spouse. So we have to focus on that career piece, and it's going to pull all the other areas of well-being up. But we also know that you can't do life alone, and your spouse, like, if you're miserable in a job, it's going to bring everything down. If you're really happy in your job, you can bring everybody up. But we know those relationships when you come home. A lot of, especially military folks, what I found out in conversation, we have a safe place with our spouse, and that's where we dump all of our negativity. It's like our outlet, right? Because we don't necessarily need coaches or counselors. At least that's what we think. So now they carry the weight of that. So we teach the importance of 3 to 5 relationships, people you can count on, whether it's at home or in your circle. And if you don't have them, your circle's not big enough. Let's get them. Some of them are formed in our program, whether it's your roommate or just someone you really click with. So now you have 3 to 5 relationships you can rely on. Economic stability. We teach a financial well-being module where you're going to get a relationship with one of our folks, our partners, that is a CFP. His wife's an attorney. They redid all my will stuff. So my son Rowan's all squared away one day, hopefully a long time away from now. My family is good. My financial well-being is up because they're helping me with my future and manage what I have and what I'm growing into be. So like the financial piece. So all of these things are super important. Community is a safe where you live, like, from basic food, water, shelter, that hierarchy of needs, all the way up to making a difference. Are you contributing to your community to get that level of significance up? The well-being piece and emotional well-being is important too. Can you regulate yourself? So we give you all these tools, but Warrior Week is different where we're not going to get in a circle and talk about like deep diving into trauma. Our emotional well-being, which is important, is going to focus on, hey, Sean, there's a lot more than happy, mad, sad, my friend. There's joy, there's bliss, there's all this stuff, and there's sorrow. And we start labeling all of these to expand our vocabulary, to understand that the deeper we can go with ourselves, the deeper connection we can have with others. And so we just expand on that in a way that we become grateful for every stinking emotion we have, and to take that with us as we move forward with more meaning in our life. The business panel is to form connections. So My answer to that is it's an ecosystem, and we really need to look at well-being, that holistic approach, empower that behind the career so they all come up together. And that's what I see a lot of things missing. The most beautiful thing I saw this summer, we had a gentleman and his family picking up kids at summer camp that he's been to Warrior Week, he's been to Warrior Path, he's brought his family to Warrior Family Camp, and he's picking his kids up from summer camp. Now, think about the impact of hitting all those areas of well-being for that one family. And I think that's really what we're here to do as a big team CSG.
I have to laugh because Keith said when you answered all the questions, and here I am. I got this question teed up, and then you just like answered it. So, but along those lines, can you tell us some of the successes you've seen come out of like Warrior Week? Like some of the things that maybe you saw somebody come in one way and leave a different way. Can you enlighten us on that? The impact that that's having.
We do not have enough time to go through all of those, and I think my lights kicked off in the back, but luckily I have this light, so I've set the mood down to be able to tell this story. I'll give you a highlight of one, and then I'll drive home the second one, which I think is really what we're searching for. The first one is someone that was a little older, Mario, who was coming through, and he was a little older than the typical transitioning veteran, and he came through wanting to make the last 10, 15 years of his life count. He gave perspective to the 25, 30 year olds that I couldn't give, the where he had walked, what he'd experienced in Vietnam, by the way. And it was just a beautiful thing. And he had his own personality that made it, charismatic as well. So that was a well-being piece, make a difference. Not our typical demographic, but after hearing his story, we wanted him to come here. And on the other side of that, now he is involved in all these other nonprofit as a contribution piece. Some are seeking careers, some are seeking how to be at their best for contribution. Mario's making a huge difference, and he's here at all of our open gate events, which is amazing. What I want to land on is a gentleman named Carson, who is in the very low side of 20s, who got out. And you know, the older folks really rallied around him because he didn't do certain things in his career. I think that he really wanted to make a difference, and he felt like just kind of like, man, maybe my service wasn't as high level as some others, which obviously that doesn't important. If you serve one day, we're all here. And so he's roughly 22 years old, getting out, no idea what he wants to do. Within the group, we have a service dog. He's like, I really love dogs. And then at the end, when we're setting our goal setting session all afternoon, he was like, I want to be a dog handler. Fast forward a few months later, he's up in an area close to here going through dog handler school where his dogs can search anything from cocaine to explosives. And he's training the dogs. They love him so much at that dog handler organization. They hire him. And just within six
Wow.
months from this spring, he is now certified. He's in the job. He loves it. He's come back to more of our events. He's excited about the Braves and Georgia football, but we couldn't be more proud or excited for him. And that whole group, that whole collective worked together to get him where he wanted to go. That's why it's not just us. This is an ongoing thing. After Warrior Week, we're going to be a resource for anybody and everybody. Even on our intakes, Sean, if someone is struggling with TBI and they have, some memory loss issues, we're going to connect them to the SHARE program, right? If they have addiction or substance abuse issues and they open up about it, which they tend to do at times with Brandon, who runs our intakes, who's the perfect guy to do that, we'll connect them to Warriors Heart. Anybody in our Avalon Action Alliance network. So but we're here to serve veterans first and to make sure we get them what they need to show up at Warrior Week so they can get the full experience. But thinking about Carson, it really makes me think that's who we're here to serve, and it was an honor to do so. What a success story!
That's awesome, and I just want to say for the record that the interview was going so well until you brought up the Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah, at that point, I think we just have to delete the whole thing, and this episode can't air. But I'm a diehard Volunteer fan, so it's
Well, Sean,
I respect the
I'm really
Bulldogs.
glad that
But
I didn't tell you that my wife's a big Roll Tide fan, and she graduated from Alabama. So I'm just a lowly West Virginia
oh,
guy, happy to be in the room, but my wife would say Roll Tide. So
well, we're gonna have to stop the interview right now. This is
that's funny.
it can't happen. Man, wait, Keith, this sounds amazing, man. What do you think?
I think I want to go.
Yeah, I was thinking the
I want
same
to go to
thing.
this camp. I'm like, this is awesome, and really, like, I'm at a loss for questions. Like, you're doing such a great job of just explaining everything. So I guess one thing I would ask is, we tend to be a stubborn group of folks. That's better. And so, a vet here is something like post-traumatic growth, and they're like, "Ah, that's great. I'm just trying to get through the week." Um, so what's one practical step or piece of advice that you would give to, some of our listeners that are just in that depth of their struggles right now to just start their journey in the right path?
That's a great question. So Keith, the first thing I would acknowledge is stubbornness. Right? You said, hey, we're really stubborn to not do something. I think stubborn is just tenacity and persistence the wrong direction. And if you can be, this convicted to do this, and you can just have a perspective shift, and maybe if you have a shift in your life, because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at can change. And so if you're this driven this direction, then maybe we can just be a little bit open about some things that can make our life better, right? Because if you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same things. If you want things to change, then you need to change. So connecting with a path team, that's gonna be the connecting point. Talking to a human that's there for you, and again, it's non-clinical, peer-based. It's someone that has walked through it. And I'm not on the path team, and I'm still on a list to be able to get to path. So I don't want to speak for them. But for those that haven't had that shift and they're stuck in the past and they can't get over it, and rightfully so. I talked to a gentleman yesterday, and we had a lot of people here doing a volunteer project. He came up and was telling me about what he went through. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it at all. And every day, just kind of getting through the day, I see that. And the best thing I can do is say, you know what? If you're fed up, which I know you are, and then reach out to our path team. If you talk to Kyle or Patrick on our path team here, that they have talked to so many veterans, they have lived it themselves. When you hear their testimony, their story, all of a sudden you're gonna be like, dude, that's it. And it's okay, well, great. Well, then get to path. And then once you get out of path, that shift happens where then you're all of a sudden you take a deep breath and like you can finally get to a place that says, okay, all my past, yes, but maybe it happened for me to be able to make a difference forward. How do I go forward? Hey, we got this great thing called Warrior Week. All right. Now that you've had that shift in your life from path, now we have this thing called Warrior Week that will help aim all your strengths and give it an initial vector to go make that contribution and that difference every day. And for those that can't work because of SSDI, well, look, you still got a purpose. You still got something to solve every day. Well, guess what? Go and do that. Volunteer. So whether it's career contribution, we want to get you connected. So, they say this, the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door. I think the biggest lift in that space is getting tired of it and connecting to, in this case, probably like a path member to just hear their story. You're going to connect and hopefully want to take that next step and open that door to opportunity for a better life.
That that may have been one of the best answers we've ever had to a question, Keith. I mean, just the mindset shift,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with on the stubbornness side. I mean, it's so true, and you start thinking about, the power of the mind and where it can lead you. You start shifting that mindset and opening yourself up to some opportunities that maybe you wouldn't consider before can be powerful.
Absolutely.
But man, just apps. I mean, I love your passion, Lacy. I mean, it comes out when you're talking about this. I really wish I would have known about this program. I retired out of Savannah, out of Fort Stewart. So, it's like I could have just booked myself a
Well,
session.
Sean,
So,
we'd love to have
uh,
you and Keith come through. We love having advocates come through for an individual, authentic experience so you can truly understand what we're doing. Another thing I want to throw out there is I may sound polished. I talk a lot, right? So, but I don't want to lose the authenticity and the true impact of these programs. I'm happy to be a spokesman, but I'm not selling a car. I'm trying to inform fully and illustrate the impact of these programs for anybody and everybody. We've had generals come through within the last year, and I've had young people that are, barely into their 20s come through. And the one thing that stays true is the impact. So try it for yourself. CampSouthernGround.org. Click on the Warrior programs and look at Warrior Week, look at Warrior Path, look at those opportunities, and just start the process. Open that door, and our teams here at camp, we're going to take care of the rest.
he did it again. He answered one of your last two questions already, Keith.
Yeah.
He's a mind reader.
Yeah. It's just before I can even tee him up, he's knocking him out of the
Yeah.
park. So,
And
uh,
I wouldn't worry about the polish piece. I think you came back through extremely authentic
genuine.
person.
Appreciate that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
absolutely.
absolutely. So yeah, normally I ask how people would get in touch with you. So that question's out the window. So well, you know what? You said how people can get in touch with the camp and the
Yes,
program.
sir.
So so two questions. How do people get in touch with you? And then two, who is the best baseball team since we haven't talked about because you mentioned Braves earlier, and why is it the Mets?
uh, I don't know if you do comedy or anything, but I will buy a ticket, and I just to hear more. And I see you have a hashtag under your name there. Like I'm all in. Um, so
Okay.
if you want to direct connect to me, Lacy, Lacy at campsouthernground.org, not .com, .org. So send me an email. I'm happy to fire back with anything and everything that you need. Be that direct connection for anybody on this call. Um, and I want to answer a question, and then I'll tell you why the Mets are probably the best baseball team ever. Uh, the second thing I want to make sure is like some people are going to ask, well, what's the ideal candidate? Do I qualify? Hey, I'm pre 9/11. I'm post 9/11. As long as you have a DD 214, it's a conversation, right? We want to meet service members in transition. That is how the program is streamlined. Whether you're active duty 2 years from getting out, we've gone up to 3 and 4. I think really 2 years is a sweet spot in transition. Went through transition and it didn't go well, all the way up to I'm 10 years out, or I'm an advocate, I have a job, but I really want to learn my strengths. Like just start the process and it's a conversation. And my team is going to unpack it in a way to let you know if it's a fit. It might be something else before. Maybe you want to go to Warrior Path, but we'll always talk about that. Now, the reason that the Mets are the best baseball team, and I'm going to agree with Keith on this one because I haven't kept up with baseball, is Darryl Strawberry, man. I don't know. Back in the day, Darryl Strawberry. I had every baseball card his.
Pre-cocaine Daryl Strawberry.
I had, I think every baseball card that Darryl Strawberry had at the time. Um,
Oh yeah.
but
I
do
still
you really?
do.
Okay.
I have a book. I have a book of just Mike Schmidt and a book of just Darryl Strawberry. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. So I would say Darryl Strawberry. That'd be my biggest reason.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Well, Lacey, this is an amazing episode and an amazing program. Thank you so much for coming on. I learned a lot. Our listeners, I'm sure, learned a
Great.
lot. So for those that are listening, yeah, partake in the program, spread the word about the program. This is an amazing thing. And I'll just sign off before I do the actual sign off with just to cover all the sports bases. Go Bills. So on behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. VET S.O.S is growing and spreading its wings. You can follow us on all the social media platforms. Make sure to check us out, all four of our shows now, and follow and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from. We're on YouTube, Reach Across America, radio, the 130 million following Parade Deck platform that we just talked about last week. And as always, all those other podcast platforms, we're just on them.
All done.
All right, folks. And as always, don't drown. Don't remember. Wow. You see, now I'm shit. He gave me a props for my linguistic style. Now I'm tripping over my own words. Folks, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline.